William Friedkin's 1980 film Cruising is about a police detective who goes undercover to investigate a serial killer who's killing members of the gay BDSM community. Even if you haven't seen the film, you've probably seen that image of Al Pacino like dancing in the nightclub. This was a super controversial film at the time, and with the passing of William Friedkin, I wanted to reflect back on this film. So when they were filming this movie, it was super controversial. Members of the gay community in New York City even tried to stop and disrupt the filming of it by shining lights and doing various other disruptive things like creating noise so this movie would be sabotaged. You see, this film was being made and came out at a time that was considered the gay liberation movement. It was a period that the community felt like they were finally being more embraced by culture and society in the mainstream. While all this was happening, there was a virus that was sweeping the community and taking back any sort of progress. And so this film, they felt like, would further stigmatize and create fear in the community at large. That's why they really hated this film. It reminds me of like the Silence of the Lambs and how the backlash from the community for showing Buffalo Bill, who they thought was a transgender character. People didn't want gay people associated with something as horrible as a serial killer. You know, looking back on Cruising now, you see how it's not as controversial as it probably was then. The plot of the film is kind of progressive because this is a police officer who's actually going into the community to try to protect gay people from this killer. Whereas in contrast to something like Dahmer, where that series shows how the police didn't do their job as well as they could have in protecting the gay community. So love him or hate him, but William Friedkin was an important part of queer cinema, especially his earlier film, The Boys in the Band, which was pretty much ahead of its time by showing gay characters and bisexual characters. But later on, when he made Cruising, he was really hated by the community. He really wasn't trying to make a movie about, you know, gay people being evil or anti-gay. Even Al Pacino thought that the film wasn't directed at the gay community. There's also a very notable feud between Friedkin and Al Pacino, like they didn't get along. Friedkin says that he was unprepared. None of that controversy you felt like actually hit the screen because I feel like Al Pacino gives a really good performance in this. Now this film is pretty weird. There's a scene that really stood out with a male police officer in a jockstrap, and apparently according to William Friedkin, this really actually happened. And Friedkin has gone on to say that he actually filmed like 40 minutes of just explicit sex scenes in these bars, which later James Franco made a movie called Interior Leather Bar, which was trying to recreate or find out what happened to those 40 minutes of sex scenes. I know there's a lot of things I could say about Friedkin, and I love a lot of his other movies, especially a movie he made called Bug, which was super good, and that was probably my first introduction to Friedkin, even before The Exorcist or something like that. But yeah, now that everything is over, I think Cruising is a perfect time capsule of the gay community, especially the leather community at the time.